Hi, this is Caryn Solomon, and welcome to my podcast, Crushing On. Welcome to episode 6. This week's episode is super busy and quite long, so I'm going to keep this as short as possible. I just want to give you the background and what you can expect today. The first part, the big discussion, is with Andisa, who is at Andy Sachs on Twitter. He's very much in the entertainment industry and loves everything pop culture, so it was a really fun conversation between the two of us, and he's extremely funny, so I'm sure you'll love it. He touches a bit on anime, pop music, stand-ship, all the kind of things that we love. So the main part of the podcast will be the conversation with him. And then later on, after that, we have an exclusive interview I did with Qiniso van Damme, who is South Africa's first Bachelorette. I have such respect and love for her, so it was an extremely fun interview. And if you haven't been a fan of the Bachelor franchise yet, I'm telling you, after this conversation, you will love her, you want to support her, and if you are a heterosexual male, you would want to enter. So look forward to that at the end. But yeah, let's get into episode 6.
Hi guys, hi. Thank you so much for having me, Caryn.
It's a pleasure. It's so great to chat to you.
Thank you so much. I haven't chatted to you in ages. I think most of our chats have been online, and I think it's kind of how we kind of started our relationship. It's been fun.
I remember do you remember this time? The first time we spoke, when you phoned me after you were jailed by Metro Rail.
Oh my God, no.
Like, I don't even think we had spoken at all. Or I think you just got you asked for my number, and then you phoned me and you were like, oh my word, I just had the wildest experience with Metro Rail.
Listen, I have like Metro Rail stories. I feel like there was a time when Metro Rail was going to block me on Twitter. Like, because I was always like ranting, raving, be like, where you at, girl? You're tweeting crazy about the trains are late. Like, what's going on? Like, it's super late.
Did they phone you also one time? Like, you were like the person on the inside of the one.
Actually, no, it did phone me because I used to work in town. This is back when I used to work in town at a previous agency. And I would obviously leave at the same kind of time. There was one day when they actually tweeted me before I tweeted them. And I was like, the fact that they know at around about 4:30, Andy Sachs is logging on and is going to be like, where is the train?
They were like, please calm down. We are currently stuck between Plumstead and Vitebomba.
And I was like, no, how long? I was so done. No. I've had like many a crazy story with Metro Rail. But thankfully, I guess it's a part of Corona. Obviously, I'm not traveling in anymore, so we're all working from home. So I haven't had a chance to tweet the girls at Metro Rail. I'm sure they're enjoying a break from me being off their neck for a bit, which has been cool. I see they're thriving and doing well. I saw them tweeting earlier, and I was like, okay.
Oh, you're still going? You're still living?
Exactly. Still going, girls. Wait, I'll be back, though. I'll be back.
So what have you been watching lately that you can recommend to me?
Before I really got into what I've been watching, I just wanted to say to you, Caryn, congratulations on starting this podcast. I'm so incredibly proud of you.
Thank you.
I know you've been a huge fan of pop culture for the longest time, as long as I've known you. It's so great to see you take this step. I'm really excited for where this is going to go. I listened to a couple of episodes before trying to prepare myself, and they've been so fun. I really enjoyed the Pia episode. Like I said, I think I tweeted earlier, I really enjoyed that her FBI agent made a feature in the episode. I really liked Sloane's episode. I was like laughing a lot. Also, quote unquote known Sloane on social media for a while. So it's nice to hear his voice and to get beyond just like the tweets and stuff. But it was really cool. Well done. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm super happy to be here. But as for what I've been watching lately, I inhale series all the time. Part of my job thankfully is around movies and series. So I've been watching a lot. I watch Drag Race every Saturday. It comes out every Friday in the US. So every Friday from like 11 o'clock, I just either don't go on Twitter or I just stay in my own mentions. And then when I watch the show, I can finally get on again because spoilers are a mother.
Yeah, and especially for that show, because so many people watch it.
Exactly. And like in so many different time zones. So you could think that you've muted. Also, another thing is muting doesn't necessarily work on Twitter. Whenever I tweet, I try to use the hashtags. People can the hashtags, they won't see any spoilers with it. But it just gets really tricky because sometimes the hashtag, they hashtag it differently. So for like Drag Race season 12, some will say Drag Race season 12, some will say Drag 12. So you might miss a spoiler or mute kind of thing. But hey, it's part of the game.
I haven't started watching Drag Race, and like I know lots of people think I watch it, but I don't.
You
Also
don't
because
watch Drag Race?
there's just so many seasons, and I'm like the type of, I like to start at the beginning. Like that's my vibe. Whatever I watch, I like to start at the beginning. And
Okay, well,
and there's just so many
so
seasons
much
that
for
it's, and then
having
it's
me.
like,
This has been lovely, Caryn. Thank you so much. Goodbye. It is incredible. I honestly, you have to watch Drag Race. I think all of the seasons are on Netflix.
yes, I know. I see it there, and I'm like, oh. And they keep on recommending it for me because they know that I will enjoy it, and I know I will enjoy it. But it's
so good. It's so good. If I was you, I would maybe start at season 5 because the early seasons are incredible and obviously staples and like laid the groundwork for where drag is now. But like maybe as an entryway, I would say season 5 or season 6 to kind of get you in there. And then for me, I watched season 1. I think watching 10 seasons or so, because like the filter was so crazy, the editing was so crazy. It was very like, early 2000s. Season 1 of Drag Race and season 12 of Drag Race are two very, very different shows.
I think, I'll start at season 5. That seems like livable.
Yes, gay rights.
So there's something I wanted to bring up, like before I forget any. Let's talk about charm for a little bit.
Oh my God.
Because I want to know.
This is why you actually had me on here to drag me.
I want to know, what is it about damn Paige which has you caping so hard for this girl?
So for context, Caryn and I both love Charmed. And I think a couple of years ago, there was a tweet, or I had tweeted, like, who's your favorite sister? I had known in my heart that it was like Paige, and my least favorite, I would probably say with either Phoebe or Prue sometimes, depending on the day.
Yeah,
but I loved Paige. And everyone else on Twitter was like anti-Paige. And I was like, I don't understand why. I don't know if it's because she came later, she was an original sister. But I've always loved it because I don't know, I just found her so really cool and quirky and like different. I think I found Piper to be too stern and mum-like. Like a really good character and I really liked her. I would have loved to have her sister. But I didn't really connect with her at the time. And Phoebe, I think when I was starting to watch initially, was quite sexualized as a character. And I wasn't really like into that storyline just yet. I was kind of into like, oh, who's this new sister? She has to prove herself. Who is she? She's a half Halloween, a half white lighter. Seeing her orb, seeing her just throw things around by calling them their names. I loved her red hair. She was my white queen. I was like, yes. And I just rode for her and caped for her so hard. And it's Paige Hive till we die.
I've got to admit, I also don't see the hate. Like, I thought she was really cool. And I also preferred it to Phoebe. Okay, Piper is my, like, number one. Like, I love her with my entire heart. But
Piper's a ride or die chick. She's like a ride or die chick. She really is a low one. Like, you got to have a Piper in your squad.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I also thought, like, Paige was cool. But I think that people that were just upset that Prue was gone was upset. Like, they took that out on Paige. I mean, that's not her fault.
It's very similar, at least I think, to like the new season of the new iteration of Charmed. What is the word? It's not, I want to say remix, but it's not remix. Not redo, reboot.
Yeah, reboot.
The new reboot of Charmed, there's a lot of like chatter online from like loyal fans, obviously from the 90s and stuff, who like really connected to the show because Charmed really was that girl. Charmed, Buffy, like even with Angel as well, like this supernatural shows, and you had these really strong female characters. Unfortunately, most of the time they were white, but you know what? The early 90s, the late 90s, sorry. So it just was, but I think a lot of people are really connected to it. So when they heard they were making a new one, it was so different. Like I've seen an episode or two, and it is really, like, some of the core functions are kind of different about it. And people were like, oh no, it's changing, like it should be the original thing. And I was like, just let another iteration live, you know. We have 8 seasons, I want to say, of the original season. So we got quite a lot to kind of like live on. It's not like we got one season and the new season's getting like 12 or whatever. We got quite a bit to add to it. And also the really great thing about the new season as well, it's got a lot more diversity in it. Just in terms of race, but also in terms of sexuality as well. I always found so weird that Charmed was filmed in San Francisco and they were like, no gays. I was like, okay. I always think just try give it something a bit of a chance. But I do sometimes think that some loyal fans stick to the original stuff. You know, they were like, it's Phoebe, Piper, and Prue. Paige, don't go.
But it makes no sense. If something worked well, let it work well and stay with that original one. Why would you want the exact same thing?
Exactly.
It makes no sense to me. You want something that's different or that keeps you on your toes, that you're not sure, like, okay, and now in season 3, the devil is going to come, you know? We gotta.
Yeah. And also, to be honest, like Charmed was a long time ago. I don't necessarily think of that the new reboot is like reaching for the same demographic as like 30-year-olds who were loving Charmed back then. Like, let the new girls have something fun.
So yes, I told you I wanted to talk about anime and stuff.
Yes.
I'm like a total noob when it comes to these kind of things. So, and I know that you know a lot of it because you're always tweeting about it. Well, you know more than me. So tell me about it. Tell me what I should be watching, basically.
So yes, so I think like a lot of people, like anime can seem quite daunting. So you just like think it's in another language, it's another culture, am I going to be able to relate to it? Like, is the storyline going to be the same? And like, I think for me, like a lot of people, we kind of like as kids, especially kids of the 90s and stuff, watch anime without really knowing it. Like we watch things like kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or like a Dragon Ball Z, and like it was just a cartoon for us, like a pop-up. We just like watching a show. It would have been the same as like a brace face thing. We're just animated. We just we didn't know that like if this is animation and like brace face or like Dexter's Lab is like cartoons kind of thing. So I kind of started like enjoying anime without necessarily knowing I was enjoying it at first. Like watching this Dragon Ball Z stuff and Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, and then years later, I think one day I was out of TV shows to watch. I was hanging with my brother, and we heard of the show called Death Note. It's an animated show. I heard it was incredible, psychological thriller, and I couldn't believe that like an animated show could be like psychological, be serious, and used to them being like child friendly and like fighting and that kind of stuff, you know. So I watched Death Note, the series with my brother over like 2-3 week period, and it was so incredible. The range of stories that we're telling in this, the different characters, my heart was literally pumping each episode. I think that was one of the few shows I couldn't go to sleep without like watching another one. I would watch so much because like the endings were so fantastic and the story was so fantastic. I was like, this is great, and I wanted to learn even more. I wanted to know more. I was like, if there's another genre of film and television that is out there that is incredible, I want to be part of it. I want to learn it. Initially, I was still quite scared. So I'm like, let me just watch things that are in English. I understood them. You know, I wasn't like necessarily the biggest fan of like reading the subtitles. But then as I slowly kind of grew on, I was like, it's just like taking a part of something that it's something new. It's the same thing with the conversation with Parasite. People were like, I don't want to watch Parasite because like it's not in English. Just watch something else and something that's different from you in a different language. All you have to do is read. It's really not in front of a screen, and I was just so enthralled with the world of anime, and I just became a really big fan of it. I don't know like all of the terminologies or anything, but I've always been a fan of like kind of magic girl animes, which are things like, I guess kind of like Winx Club would be considered kind of a magic girl.
Oh, yeah.
So anything that had strong female characters who would transform into some bad bitch clothing and fight evil. I was all about it. I was just like, and also anime are just so full of them. And these like beautiful characters who are often very feminine and like uncompromising about their femininity. And they would just like be badass, you know. So I really, really enjoyed that. Like I wanted to make a thread on Twitter of all the anime I've watched and kind of go back to it. But I kind of forgot to connect back to that. But also the thing I liked about anime was like it wasn't necessarily one genre. There was like thriller stuff. There was like more fun kind of kid stuff. There was like horror stuff. It was just like a whole new world for me. I also discovered a new anime type recently called isekai anime, which I believe is when a person gets transported into another world. So for example, if you and I are doing the Zoom session, you fall asleep and you wake up and like you're in the world of Zoom. So it's that kind of stuff kind of thought out online. It's very like combat based, but it's really, really fun and really cool. But like, yeah, it's been a really great journey. But in terms of like what to watch, I feel like entering anime, I think for you, because I think you enjoy like really cool, fun characters that's not like too violent or anything, but like has strong, but also has strong story to it. It's not just like a flimsy story. I was actually thinking today, like what I think that Caryn should watch to give it a try. And I was actually going to suggest Ruby. It's RWBY. It's actually a YouTube series by Rooster Fox on YouTube. It is about these 4 girls, Ruby, Weiss, Blake. Blake is also why my name on Twitter is Blake Belladonna.
Okay.
And Yang. And it's these 4 girls. It's very much like Winx. These 4 girls come together and they form like an elite fighting group, and they kind of like train. And they've got these really cool weapons, but it's very colorful and like bright, but also like has really good like characters and story in it. I think it's really fantastic. But like, yeah, I've been quite lucky to be recommended some really fantastic shows on anime and movies or anime. It gets tricky though sometimes, because sometimes some people consider certain things anime that others won't. So some consider anime to be only made in Japan by Japanese people, I think. Then some consider it only for the decision style of drawing that then it becomes anime. So that some people have different takes on it. I'm just kind of like, I just view it as cartoon and anime.
So it's like whatever stories are interesting you would follow that, not necessarily if it's a certain style or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I always kind of like to research and kind of hear like what everyone's kind of doing. But I think everyone's introduction like to cartoons, anime is kind of the same. I think you also Totally Spies, like a brace face.
Yeah, oh gosh,
like that was
Totally
like
Spies.
Exactly. Like, and Ruby is kind of Totally Spies taken to another level.
Ooh,
add
lovely.
a girl, add a sword, add a gun, and you're in. And it's just like really fantastic. So I've been really, really into that. Also, I've been watching The Last Airbender, which I don't think counts as an anime per se, or maybe kind of be a cartoon was made by Nickelodeon on Showmax.
Okay.
But I think a lot of Gen Z people on social media have been rewatching it now that it's been moved to Netflix US. And watching them rediscover something that we watched as kids has been magical. I'm not going to lie. I feel old, but magical. But yeah, so I've had a really interesting and fun journey with watching animated stuff. Unfortunately, there are obviously, like with all television, there are some problems that I think at first I wasn't sure how to deal with, because like a lot of the anime is made for another culture and by another culture, so I wasn't sure if what I was watching was like, if I had a right to judge it necessarily. But then after a while, I kind of did some more research and I've learned that there were some problematic tropes within anime that are kind of slowly coming out. I think is quite a bit of racism and stuff in anime. There's a lot of like coded fan service, which is like often like really sexist behavior to female characters, or like Lolita characters, which are like young girls, like really sexualized. It's very like popular thing. So whenever I do watch a new anime, I always research to see like a Wikipedia of the show, and then I look at the characters and I look at the male and female, and I see how they describe their relationship. Because if they describe a relationship as like somewhat sexual, I'm like, this is going to be like, for me at least, kind of gross, because they often go like very into it, like a lot of groping and like titty shots, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and he's like, yeah, it's kind of wild. So I kind of tend to look at anime that isn't as sexualized of a female character and doesn't have like racist tropes. But if I had to recommend some of my favorite anime shows, I think I would say Akame ga Kill. It's a really fantastic show about a group of assassins trying to free a republic from an evil regime, which, you know what, I feel like we can kind of relate to a little bit in 2020. So let's go Akame ga Kill, a really great show as well. I think there's 2 seasons. Code Geass is also on Netflix. It's 2 seasons of that. A show about a prince who was abandoned by his family, and he discovers an ability to control people through an ability called Geass. Really dark thriller, I would say, like that, but pretty fun. Code Geass, Log Horizon, My Hero Academia, One Punch Man, Attack on Titan, Sword Art Online, Future Diary, Ruby, as I mentioned to you, like all really good shows I think people can get into that won't have a good entry-level shows for you to kind of get into if you're interested in anime. And it has good characters that don't feel too problematic. But I expect tweets about Ruby soon now.
Yeah, as soon as I have. So I'm going to be watching Ruby Drag Race. And what's the other one? I don't know, but I'm going to be watching Ruby and Drag Race. And you're going to be like, I thought I told you to watch that. Have you not been doing your homework?
I see a tweet that doesn't have a hashtag Ruby. I'm coming. I'm coming out swinging.
Okay, going back to tweets, let's talk about another person that you came for, Nicki. Tell me about Nicki.
Nika Tanya Mirage, my girl. Nikki Lewinsky, Nikki the Harajuku Barbie. Yeah, listen, I love my girl Nicki Minaj. What can you say about Nicki? I think I started standing her becoming a Bob a couple of years ago. I think it was after like Monster came out and she kind of came out swinging. And I was instantly drawn to her. I saw in front of me a beautiful, confident, cocky in a good way. Like she knew that she was talented Black woman on the scene in what is often controlled by a boys' club, and she was killing it. And she wasn't just killing it like as a lot of people would like to, she's killing it as a female rapper. She was going toe-to-toe with the boys. If you look at Monster, she was like, Kanye almost didn't put out that song because he was like, Nicki kind of came for me here. And there's so many songs where, if you look at like, oh my gosh, I think it's Hello Good Morning, where she eats up everyone there. If you look at Big Bank, she eats up Big Sean, YG. Like she is just such a powerful force. And I think that her fans love that about her, that she is this uncompromising woman. Someone pointed out the other day that Nicki Minaj, for all of her controversy, has never busted out her phone to write her notes app because she doesn't give a fuck. And I'm like, love that or hate that, but that is Nicki Minaj. Is she problematic at times? Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose she is, for sure. But a part of me that kind of likes her is just her unrelenting confidence in herself, and seeing someone who's Black being so confident and killing it for so long, and especially a woman in the industry who's had so much, she's had fair criticism, but also a lot of unfair criticism as well. I think often because she is a woman in rap, that she gets called out for things that a lot of her male counterparts do often and don't get called out on, whether that be a good or bad thing. There's a bit of sexism there as well. But I think I just always really loved this woman.
I'll never forget when Lana Del Rey was doing her whack, whatever she was doing on Instagram, and someone commented on her, a person, one of her fans, and they were like, please delete this. We're a small fan base. We can't beat the Bobs, please.
That is true. Listen, the Bobs are notorious for being crazy. I don't consider myself at that level because I've got a full-time job. I don't have time for that. But the things I've heard the Bobs do, I don't know if you saw today, the Bobs had catfished Snoop Dogg into thinking that they were talking to Nicki Minaj. A while ago, there was this woman or reality TV show star called Mariah somebody, not Carey, definitely not Carey. Mariah, someone was talking shit about Nicki. And apparently her fans found her and beat her up in the street. And I was like, what? They are insane. They hacked into someone's account, some other famous person who didn't like Nicki, and they changed all of her information and just put links to Nicki's music. They are so fiercely protective of their girl. Some of it gets a bit crazy and a bit scary sometimes. If any of the Bobs are listening to me, I love you. I want to be, please don't come for me. But yeah. It's a very active fan base. I always think about if ever someone writes a book about fandoms, they have to include the Believers, because was it early 2000s? No, when did Justin come in?
I think it was 2008-ish.
Yeah, late 2000s.
Yeah.
That fan base was ravenous. I've never seen things like that in my entire life. It was crazy. The One Direction fan base as well initially, with Justin Bieber. When they were he was drinking or smoking something, and some of them were self-harming to get him to stop. I was like, what? That was crazy. Yeah, One Direction fans breaking into hotel rooms to meet the boys was kind of wild. And then even I think the Beehive is kind of doesn't have the same reputation anymore. Once again, Beehive, love you, love Beyonce. You know she's my girl. I have all her music on my phone. Don't come for me. But there also was a time with them there was where they also got kind of a hit reputation. I think it was around when, I don't know if you remember this, someone made a religion about Beyonce. It was called Bayism. And they wrote a Bible called the Babel. All very funny defense. I loved it. But apparently, it got really dark, and someone was murdered at one of the services.
What?
And I was I don't know what's going on.
There were services. Oh my gosh.
They had services, I think, every Sunday where they would just play his music and read from the Bible. And I think, now this could have been a tweet lie, but I think the Bible was the actual Bible. They're taking out the word Jesus and replacing it with Beyonce.
I'm done. I'm done.
I was I don't know how many pages the Bible has, but girl. But they definitely, the Bobs are definitely up there with iconic fan bases that have just wilded out.
And the K-pop fans.
And the K-pop fans, yeah. That's also another new section of Twitter that I've kind of discovered in the past couple of months. I've discovered some kind of K-pop music. I didn't really know much about it before. Just heard about BTS and stuff like that. Heard saw the fans. Every response to every tweet was a fan cam of
I love
BTS.
that.
I was who are these people? Who's recording this? So many questions. And I was there's this huge fan base, but I don't know what they're standing. And I just looked at it on surface value, just it felt these very big groups with 8 to 10 people. How can you keep up?
How do you remember?
I couldn't understand it. I was when I thought about the Pussycat Dolls, which I think is one of the biggest bands that I know, not in terms of how successful they were, but in terms of how many people they were. I couldn't name the first names of most of them only because of the Snoop Dogg song, where he's Carmen, Nicole, Jessica, Melody, Kanye.
I literally just know Nicole and Melody. That's it.
Yeah. So I was like, that was a while to kind of figure out. So now we've got a group that got like double digits people. How are you going to remember this? But then a friend of mine, Caitlin, shout out Caitlin if you're listening to this, she was just like, sent me one Blackpink song. She was like, listen, if you want to try K-pop, listen to this and then
Oh, but Caitlin is a stan though. She's like,
Caitlin's a stan. Caitlin
she's like part of that.
She's got to use promo code Caitlin for 20% off the BTS merchandise. A lot of Western celebrities starting to open themselves up to this as well. And I thought, why not open yourself to another culture's kind of music sensibilities, even though some of the sensibilities is influenced by American and African American, more specifically kind of music and aesthetics. So you do kind of have a bit of that kind of sense of home. You're like, oh, I recognize where this is coming from.
Yeah.
So yeah, still very much there. So
I heard Blackpink for the first time. I think it was in a movie. I think it was in To All the Boys.
Yes, that was it. You're right. Actually, you're right. That was literally it, actually. Because I saw the now streaming video for To All the Boys, and it was like, let's kill this love. And I was like, what's this? I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, that was me too. I Shazammed it, and I was like, okay, Blackpink, they sound cool. And then...
Listen, they're in your area. They are in your area. They're incredible. I've become such a huge fan of theirs. And like I said, I've always been a fan of strong kind of female personalities or archetypes, and I feel like a lot of them, the Blackpink girls, kind of have that. And I just really, I'm all here for it. Nicki, Blackpink. When I heard Nicki Minaj did a song with BTS, I was like, oh my god, my world's colliding.
But the smart American, those kind of westernized performers teaming up with K-pop is so clever because, that's how you stay relevant. I mean, it was her. Okay, there's all BTS. Lil Nas X, Halsey.
Yeah, so I think for me, once again, I've been in this for 3 weeks. So if anyone else is listening to this is deep in the BTS, tells me to shut the F up, please tweet me, meet me on the streets, sis. But I think for me, what I often find is it looks like a lot of Western artists are using the names of BTS and Blackpink to be like, oh, I would love to collab with you one day, just so they can get the tweets and stuff up, then get the retweets and get the kind of the clout kind of.
Yeah.
And they kind of take pictures with them and post them, and it feels a little bit fetishy. It feels a little bit Gwen Stefani, Harajuku Girls kind of art. And I'm like, And often they don't actually collab with them. They can just kind of use them for retweets or a picture and stuff. And there actually are very few, I would say not very few, but there are far fewer of those just who talk about it who actually end up working with them. So I think Dua did a song with them. Gaga did Sour Candy. I love Sour Candy. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sweet and psycho. Yes, mama, give it to me. So I loved when it does mix very, very well. But it is a smart way just to stay, I wouldn't say relevant, just the way, but just to stay on the pulse, not stuck in your own genre. I think the fact you've got to, especially in music, you've got to, and in this day and age, everyone's moving so quickly, you've got to stay flexible. You can't stay stuck to one genre. Also why I love Nicki. She's done BTS, she's done music with BTS, she's done ballads and that kind of thing. We get to kind of mix it up quite a bit. Beyonce's another one that's always just giving you different genres and just keeping everyone on their toes. I think that's a sign of a good artist, someone who's just aware of the pulse and what everyone's doing and is kind of staying there but also looking forward.
Yeah. I think Gaga also has a kind of vibe about her. She will do whatever. She can partner up with a K-pop group, but she will also partner up with Elton John on the same album.
Yeah.
And will keep you guessing.
I always wonder what is the thought process between them? It's I don't understand sometimes, and maybe it's not meant for me to understand. I think what threw me for the biggest loop was the jazz album from Gaga.
Is that the one with Tony Bennett?
Yeah, I think I was just so surprised. At first I thought it was a Tony Bennett album and she was just featuring. I'm like, oh, that's cool for her. But I was like, oh, you're doing a whole thing, a little cheek to cheek moment. I'm like, okay. I'm like, this is not something I would ever have predicted from Mrs. The Fame Monster Just Dance.
That was her I can actually sing.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wow, so you're doing this. And obviously then not that she became an actress, but she really shined in A Star Is Born, which I have not seen.
You've not seen A Star Is Born? What?
I haven't seen it. No. I don't want to watch that. It just looks like white nonsense. And isn't there 3 versions already? Not that I've seen any
there's a lot. How it's gonna end. The first time I watched it, I did not enjoy it. Not didn't enjoy it, but I just found it so boring. And then I watched it a second time, and I think I watched it at Galileo. So like open air, but then I enjoyed it that time. It was like cool. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of sad endings.
It just, the whole thing is look like a downer. Plus, I want to say Matthew McConaughey, but it wasn't Matthew McConaughey.
Bradley Cooper.
Listen, in that movie, they could have been the same person.
Do you have any of those actors where you watch anything that they're in?
So a lot of people have that. I don't necessarily have that. I have actors who I won't watch things that they're in.
Oh, okay. Now, who is that? Like,
one of them is Katherine Heigl. I will not watch anything with Katherine Heigl in it. I don't enjoy her as an actress or as as a person from what I've heard and seen. Anything with Julia Margulies, I'm not like a big fan of. Kind of like, it's why I'm staying away from The Good Wife. Is it? Yeah, The Good Wife. Even though I love the Good Fight, obviously The Good Fight's iconic. But who else do I like avoid like the plague? Mark Wahlberg, I kind of avoid because of his history in general, but I did like The Happening. And everyone else hates The Happening, but I enjoyed The Happening.
I have that kind of vibe with Emily Van Camp. I can't stand that girl's face.
You can't stand her? Why? Was it revenge?
No, it was actually before Revenge. So I used to watch Everwood as a child. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember Everwood, SABC.
Because I know you're kind of younger than me, so yeah, it's like SABC 3 show. And yeah, so I used to watch that, and she was like a teenager or something in there, and she just annoyed me. And then I was like really into Brothers and Sisters. And then when she came, the show just got worse, and I just hated her. And I was like, why must I bring this girl in? I hate her. And I hate this actress. And then I didn't even watch Revenge because I was like, not even. She's the main character. Of course, I'm not going to watch that. And then
that must have sounded like, you were like, she's the main character?
Yeah. So then I went to watch Captain America: Winter Soldier, the movies. But I didn't know who was in the movie. I didn't even know what the movie was really about. So I'm sitting at the movies, and my friend and I went, and I think either we bought tickets late or something like that. So we were like in front, and there's a Cavendish. And she comes onto the screen, and I was like, what the? I was so mad. I was so mad that nobody warned me. Like, people knew I was going to go watch the movie. And it's not exactly a secret that I don't like Emily Van Camp. They could have told me, Karen, that actress you don't like is in that movie, beware. No, I went in there blind. It was such a shock in my life.
This is an anti-Emily Van Camp stan account, and we say that with our chest.
I always say, like, when those tweets go around and they're like, if you were kidnapped and they made you tweet something so that, like, the people won't be suspicious, what would you tweet, like, to draw attention? I'm like, I would always tweet, big fan of Emily Van Camp. Love seeing her in things, because then something is up.
What would my my tweet that I've been taken be? Probably be like, ooh, watching Big Bang Theory again. Love this. Bazinga. I have been murdered. It's gone. It's late for me by then. It's a mess. If you ever thinking about like how much I love Big Bang Theory or any of that kind of like male kind of focused stuff, no. I have been taken. But also think even those American shows of old are dying. Like, you don't really get those. Like, even with Gossip Girl, they're making that reboot now, which I'm kind of excited for, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, because it's different.
All I heard was it's going to be Gossip Girl, not the same characters. Gossip Girl's still going to be an online presence, and it's going to be diverse and have the gays. And I was like, I'm in.
Yeah, no, but that's exactly it. My problem is when they bring back the old actors, we don't need that. What we need is new stories told within the world.
As you're talking about Gossip Girl, I've actually got a question for you. I'm going to turn the tables on you quickly. First of all, can we just talk about how iconic that show is and how many people were on that show that either became big later or just were big anyway? You had like no idea. Like Gaga was on there. Hilary Duff was on there. Tyra Banks was on there. Carter Bazin was played by
Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian freaking Stan. Like, all of
Armie Hammer was on there.
Armie Hammer was on there. There's just so many people. And it was such an insane show to look back at it and be like, this really was a cultural, as the girls say, cultural reset.
But I think at the time it was also like, it was one of the biggest shows on TV. So it's a kind of show that like that Gaga and Co would want to guest star on. Even though it's crazy to think of Gaga guest starring on any show.
Yeah, as Gaga.
Yeah.
But on Gossip Girl, if everything goes well, a new reboot comes, and they were to feature like for small cameos the original cast, do you think any of them would come back? Because I don't.
Maybe the only one that I heard that said that they might come is Nate. What is that guy's name?
Nate. Oh God, what's his name? Chase Crawford.
Chase Crawford. Maybe.
He's not busy.
Well, he's in The Boys on Amazon Prime. That superhero show.
He's like there. He plays like Deep Sea somebody, right?
Oh, I didn't watch it, but
fun
I know
show.
that.
Good time. Watch The Boys. Chase Crawford's on it. Kind of like a Dark Justice League kind of take on it and look at superhero stuff. But he is there, but it's not like a main character.
Oh, okay.
I was tweeting with someone the other day, and I was like, I highly doubt Blake Lively would ever come back to Gossip.
Nope, I don't think so.
She wouldn't even pick up the phone.
Leighton Meester said that she was an ass. So, I don't know about that.
That sounds like a hate.
But her show was cancelled now, Single Parent.
Oh, she's got some time. She got some free time.
Yeah, she has some free time. Chuck Bass, what's he doing?
Fighting sexual assault claims. And I whoop.
Apparently he was cleared of that.
Yeah, apparently so. Apparently he was cleared of the 3 allegations.
Yeah, Simasu. But who else? Ben Paige, I don't know if he will come back. He's really living his U life. And he's so cool now for that.
Yeah.
Him and Leighton Meester have that kind of like too cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But also like, I think a lot of people saw Dan's character and his character in You as being very similar. So I think if his character did come back, it would have to be as someone like the guy in You, because I couldn't imagine anything else. You're talking about a man who manipulates all of his friends and family for years. Like, that is the guy.
But I just don't want to. I know that this new version is like a continuation of the old one. So like they are living in a world where Serena and Dan and all of them lived before. Yeah. But I don't want to hear from them because they were just all chaos. Because I know if they tell me that all of those couples are still together, I will riot. There's no way in hell Chuck and Blair are still together. And Serena and Dan, there's no way. They were all messy.
What the fuck moment for you from Gossip Girl wasn't Dan being Gossip Girl, which, if we're all being honest, was a last minute thing that's out of a hat.
Exactly.
No fucking sense.
Exactly.
At all. But the biggest what the fuck moment for me was that Lily stayed with her husband. She had cancer.
Oh my gosh. I hated that man so much.
I could not wrap my head around that. I was like, how would she have forgiven him? How would anyone have forgiven him? And I can literally remember that scene because it was like a flash forward 5 or 10 years or something. And there she was lounging on him. And I was like, are you on crack, man?
I think that they only left her with him because they wanted Dan and Serena to be together. So they didn't want Rufus and Lily to be together. And then they didn't want the pressure of having to find a new romance for her. So they just left it like that and just gave Rufus some random girl. When everybody knows Dan and Serena shouldn't be together, Rufus and Lily should be together.
Exactly, completely agreed. Like, they are the ones to kind of connect more. I don't know, I thought it was a weird end choice. I was like, okay. And then also Blair and Jenny starting up a design place together called J for Waldorf. The worst name I've heard in my entire life. J for Waldorf. What is this? What is this, Mama?
Is Taylor Momsen still like a rock star?
She is. I listen to the music still, yeah. I listen to the Pretty Reckless. It's my attempt of going emo as I'm going to go as a black gay man. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, give me raccoon eyes, give me stripper boots, heels, and singing about craziness. I got very into the Pretty Reckless when Taylor started the band. I thought I was so out. I thought I was so like, no one knew me, no one could understand me, but really was pop rock, but okay. But it's been a good time. If I did see anyone come back, I wouldn't mind seeing Vanessa come back though. She didn't have much of a storyline. And it was like the only POC. Like, damn.
I haven't rewatched in a couple of years, but I know I was a bit annoyed at her, but I always kind of gave her the benefit of the doubt because she was it could be because she was a POC. But
and the only one, yeah. Absolutely. She was probably the only everyday character on that show. Everyone else was like vastly wealthy or fantastical. Yeah. She was like a real, quote unquote, real person.
I liked her and Nate together. I thought that they were.
I liked them too.
I wish that they'd given us more of that instead of giving him like these children to date. Always the villain.
Nate was either dating children or he was dating old people.
Yeah.
The first, second, third, and fourth, I want to say he was dating the Countess. And then it was someone else. Liz Hurley, R.I.P., right? Is she dead?
No, not in your life. She was in your favorite show. She was in your favorite show now, The Runaways.
Oh, that's another one. If I tweet, The Runaways is lit, I've been kidnapped. Oh my God, The Runaways is pure trash. Talk about potential. Like, no, I read the comics and it was so lit. I actually have the first comic somewhere in my room, actually. And I was so keen. I remember telling my friend Usman, shout out Usman if you're listening to this, that he must watch the show. I was like telling him about the backstory. I'm like, I was selling, and I don't often sell shows before I've seen them myself. I want to keep my reputation high. I watched this and I was like, what is going to happen to me? Like, my name is going to be mud. Like, I can never come back from this. Obviously, everything's been on the back burners. During Corona, obviously, Hollywood's the last thing anyone's focused on. But like all of like those shows are kind of on the back burner. And someone pointed out, I think this year has been the least Marvel or superhero movies in like years. And I was like, yeah, because we're used to having like 3-4 blockbusters from like Disney, from
like Mulan.
Yeah, Mulan. I don't know if I wanted to watch it. I really love the original Mulan. So top 2 Disney movies of all time, Mulan and Pocahontas for me. They also add in Tarzan and The Lion King for sure. But I remember just being such a huge fan of it. When I heard they were making a remake, I was so excited. And then I heard they changed a lot. Mulan was going to have a sister. There was going to be a witch. The Huns are gone. Mushu is gone.
I was listening to like the original version of the legend. Yes. I'm not saying that it's like the movie because I don't know what the movie is like. I quite like Beauty and the Beast, and I didn't enjoy the remake because I was like, this is just the same movie. Same with Lion King.
Exactly.
Whereas Cinderella, I love that because they've changed stuff. You know, it felt like something different. Like, give me something new.
Caryn, the only Cinderella we recognize in this house is the one by Brandy and Whitney Houston. Whoopi Goldberg all up in this.
That's also a classic. Brilliant.
Iconic.
I used to hire that from like Mr. Video every week.
Listen, when Whitney and Brandy sang Impossible, I was in. It's impossible. Oh, God,
and Victor Garber was the father of the prince.
Oh, man.
And Whoopi.
It had everyone. Had Whoopi in it. The prince, whose name I forgot, was hot as hell.
I don't know what his name was. No idea.
A Sexual Awakening. That's his name. A Sexual Freaking Awakening. So I was looking into the new Mulan, and they were actually saying that the changes they're making is to make it more closer to the actual legend, because the animated version, a lot of people from the region and from like the country found was an American take on their legend, and this movie is going to be like a more authentic take, apparently.
I think the animated one was for children. And the legend is, I've read it, is not the children's story. So they can change it because the live action probably isn't either. I mean, Mushu.
Yeah, Mushu, Eddie Murphy come through, iconic role as well.
Yeah.
And also, I want to say my first instance of seeing drag, I want to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
There was 2 scenes actually when, the entire movie is low-key in drag, because Mulan dresses up as a man, and then her fellow soldiers in I think 2 scenes dress up as geishas in like the full makeup and like the hair and everything. I remember seeing that celebrate because obviously it was a kid's movie, and they were like, "Oh, that's amazing!" It was like fun, it was cool, and like as a young gay kid who was like still questioning himself and his sexuality, I was like, this movie is exploring gender in a really fun, colorful, positive way. There is no pushback. There was quite a bit of a bi feeling between Shen and Mulan. Ping, I think her boy name was called Ping, I think.
Yeah.
The sexual tension kind of going. So for me, it was queer as hell. Like, Mulan is gay rights as well, you know. Mulan can say fag. But I was like, this is such a good time. So when I saw it, I was like, being made into a remake, I was kind of disappointed it wasn't going to be that same take. It would have meant so much to me. But if it's about being more authentic to the people and to their legend, I'm completely open to it. I'll always have my animated version.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, I've really had such a good time chatting with you. Thank you so much for having me. I would love to be back next time.
Yes,
I'll keep
please.
listening as well. Everybody listen on support your girl, Caryn. Support local podcasts. If you're not supporting locally from South Africa, international, send love on social media. Caryn, where can they find you? Tell the girls. Promo yourself.
I can't remember what my socials are. I'll promo myself afterwards. So that was the interview with Andisa. Next up, we have Qiniso van Damme, South Africa's first Bachelorette. I'm really excited for the Bachelorette. I've always been more of a fan of the Bachelorette more than the Bachelor, so it's going to be so interesting to see a group of South African men competing for one woman. I am here for it. I'm so excited, and Mnet made the perfect choice in Qiniso. So this is going to be so lit, and I'm ready. You know, I had this interview with her on Wednesday just after the announcement was made, and I wish I had actually recorded it from the time she answered the phone, because she answered the phone saying, "I told you." As I've been saying, she's perfect for this, and she maintains that, and I cannot confirm nor deny that even when I was a journalist at another publication covering The Bachelor, I was still always on her team and I wanted her to win, even though I pretended that I wasn't biased. But, you know, I'm neither confirming nor denying. But one other thing I also wanted to say is that we had some technical difficulties, and midway through the call, we had to switch from Zoom to a phone call. So the audio might sound different. And even though Rebecca has been doing an amazing job, you know, there's some things you can't fix. So if it sounds a bit different, this is why. But anyway, here's the interview with Qiniso. So what made you decide you wanted to do The Bachelorette?
I mean, it's not like I can go on a date tomorrow. There's coronavirus. So I was like, when they gave me the opportunity, I was like, hell yes, I can start dating again. And also, it's an absolute privilege and honor to be given this role and make history. We've literally made history. It's so wild. And it's just so like humbling and beautiful to make history by just being myself and wanting to be loved, love someone. So
it's amazing. So what is your family's reaction when you said you were going to do The Bachelorette?
My sister was stressed. My sister was like, girl, you better do this again, because when I came back from The Bachelor, you know, obviously I was emotionally drained. I was physically, emotionally, spiritually exhausted just because it's a very hectic environment. But also I learned so much, and I'm a better person for having it gone through that experience. And I know what I want. I know what I don't want. So my sister definitely saw my glow up from that, my personal growth. And she was like, you know what, Emily's going to do all the research that I would have done anyway on any person you're about to bring home. So, you know, if they can ease my workload and find you someone great who I can approve of. My mom's like, why can't you just date a nice boy that you meet every day? And I was like, Mom, we're not going to bars. We're not going to, you know, be taking our masks off in public. So how are they going to see me? How am I going to talk to them? So she was like, okay, let's do it.
So Team Qiniso has been so vocal on social media, and they've been advocating for you. So has the online support been encouraging?
Girl, it is so magical to have people who you don't even know see you and support you just as you are. It is a feeling that I can't describe. And I'm so grateful to Team Qiniso. Guys, that hashtag, whoever made that hashtag in the beginning.
It was probably me. But
they knew what they were starting. The committee was born. Yeah, it probably was you, actually. The committee was born, and I feel so seen, so loved, and so held. And I'm so excited to share my journey of finding love with everybody. South Africa, Mzansi, we got a Bachelorette, and her name is a difficult one, but an easy one. So let's practice.
So for the guys that are wanting to enter, what would you say what kind of guy are you looking for?
So my ideal man would definitely be someone who is independent, who's already achieved his goals in his life. I mean, I've already achieved a lot of my goals. I have 2 degrees. I'm working on my 3rd one. You know, and my career is where I want it to be. So I need a man who is together, girl, who also is, I guess, old-fashioned in the sense that they still see the value in marriage, in, you know, being a classic dad to amazing kids and really building a life with me. And that is really important just because, you know, my parents didn't stay together in the end after love, but my sister and her husband have such a beautiful relationship. My brother and his wife, such a beautiful relationship. And they are goals. I need that. No more situationships and entanglements. Thank you, Jada.
Entanglements.
We are trying to build real, strong relationships.
So what would you say your deal breakers are?
My deal breakers are definitely people who are unkind and who just have negative energy. Like party poopers in terms of life are just a no-no. Why are you trying to be a wet towel? Let's go and have an adventure, or let's try and see the positives to all things that are scary and negative that are happening in the world. And there are so many scary and negative things happening in the world right now. So I definitely need to have that positive energy around. I can't just be giving it all the time too, you know?
Yeah.
And another deal breaker, definitely someone who just doesn't want to do anything. I'm really adventurous, I'm really spontaneous, and I'm really free-spirited. So I need someone who can keep up. Let's go on an adventure. Come and kidnap me from work one day and be like, I'm taking you from work. You said you were grumpy. We're going to go on a great date. I need that Serena Williams energy on some, I just want Italian for dinner. Oh, next thing we know, we're in Italy. Whoa. Huge adventure. Like, I need to be like swept off my feet. Because I also see my lovers off their feet. They'll be like, oh, you know, have you ever been skiing? I'll be like, okay, here we are. We're skiing. So I need that love to come both ways, that commitment, that energy to not just be something that they're relying on me to bring. We need to meet me halfway, right at the borderline.
So what is a surefire way for a man to wow you when he steps out of the limo?
Sure, I love surprises. As we can tell. So I really want him to really think it out properly and really come with something that's going to just surprise me and wow me, or just make me laugh, or something sweet and sentimental, or just, you know, there's no surprise or gesture too small or too big that I wouldn't love.
So are we going to cancel?
So the balls in their court.
Are we going to cancel the ones that don't pronounce your name properly?
Girl, I mean, we're not going to cancel them off the bat. We're going to give them a lesson. We're going to give them a chance. You know, the sweaty upper lip is a part of, you know, decoloniality.
Decoloniality.
Yes, girl. It's a part of us sharing our cultures. And, you know, I'm not the cancel kind of person. I'll give you a chance. I'll give you many chances. Hell, I gave many chances in my season as well. And that will continue to be the process. Yeah, that will continue to be the process. But don't come at me sideways with minimizing my name. That's not fair, and I feel actually disrespectful to my cultural heritage and the love that my mom put into naming me the truth. So we need to respect each other, and that is a big, important thing in my life. Mutual respect and how I see gender equality coming through.
Okay, so notoriously, the Bachelor franchise around the world hasn't been a very welcoming place for people of color. So how do you feel about you playing this very important role in regards to representation?
Sure. I mean, this is a huge responsibility, and it's just a huge thing in our history of our country, in the history of the world. And I am not taking this lightly. I'm pausing my life. I am invested. I am believing in this possibility of a love story. And I'm also aware of the nuances, the stereotypes behind a woman being the one who makes the decisions. And especially a woman of color being the one in charge of the notoriously white-centered show. However, you know, we had to start somewhere. And I'm grateful to be a part of that start. And, you know, wow, we have real-life brown girl princesses too, not just the ones that have been showing up in Disney. And we are deserving of having our magical fairy tale princess love stories too. And if anything that anybody learns from this process, if they learn that and they see the beauty that can happen, then I've done my job to society. Yeah.
Are there any lessons that you learned from your experience with Mark that you will take with you on your journey as a Bachelorette?
Sure.
Like how he handled things, good or bad?
I definitely remember the time when I spoke to Mark about my father, and I could see that, you know, this wasn't a conversation that he was ready to have. And me kind of like throwing myself on top of the fire. And okay, no, we're fine, we're good. Oh, okay, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. You don't have to talk about it if you want to. Okay. That nervous chatter of mine was definitely me trying to blanket and protect someone. And I'm not doing that. I'm going to make sure that I'm not doing that moving forward, because I need to see the truth, the raw, the whatever. And if you're putting yourself out on this television show to share your life with someone and be honest about who you are, then come forth. You've got to have the strength and the bravery. And I've been through the process, so I know what it feels like. Hell, I cried the ugly cry. I laughed the ugly laugh. I had my moments too. So I hope they're comforted in the fact that I've been there. I know what it's like in the trenches.
Yeah.
I got your back.
Are you still friends with some of the ladies from The Bachelor?
Yes, I am. I just generally love all my girls from my season. I definitely know what it's like to be put in a house with 22 girls and go through the most. So I have all the empathy for all of them. And I'm also close with Jillian and Melissa and Bridgie and Cameron. They really, you know, have just been some solid ones who I've been able to turn to and have turned to me during our times of just, wow, we've been through this process.
I suppose it's like a unique experience that not many other people have been through.
Yeah, so we need each other, and it's been great to have each other.
So what kind of dates are you planning?
Let me just say, boys, keep your hats on, your seatbelts fastened. We're about to go on a journey.
I'm so excited.
I know you are. You're going to fit for the things I can't give you, girl.
So what is something that you think viewers will be surprised to learn about you?
Sure. They're so lucky, eh? They already saw me on the previous season of The Bachelor. They're so lucky that they already know the kind of person that I am. But I'm also, like, I don't think people understand how nerdy my nerd is. Like, my nerdy is nerdy. Like, I love a 30 seconds. I love a Scrabble. I love a docu-series. I love just, like, reading random tidbits from the internet and being like, oh, my gosh, did you know? That's where my quirky nerdy really is. But also, a thing that people don't know about me, I don't know. I love to write, actually, too. I write poetry, and I draw, and I am very creative. As much as I'm bubbly and boisterous and nerdy, I'm creative, too, in a lot of ways. Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry
you.
for all the technical difficulties.
That's all right. Technology, babe. Sometimes she helps, sometimes she doesn't.
Good luck as you go in and deal with this. And I hope they pick some great guys for you. You deserve. And
sure, girl, me too. Amen. I receive.
And you know I'm going to be rooting for you all the way through. So I'm very excited to watch.
I know you are. See you on the TL, sis.
Thank you so much for listening. Once again, you can find Andisa at Andy Sachs on Twitter. And Qiniso, you can find it at Qiniso van Damme on Twitter and Instagram. I will put all the information in the show notes, as well as anything that Andisa spoke about that you can recommend. Also, if you want to enter the Bachelorette, I will put the information for the entry form also in the show notes, so everything will be there. Me, you can find at Caryn Walby on Instagram and Caryn Walbys with an S on Twitter. You can find the podcast at Crushing on Pod on Twitter and Instagram, crushingonpod.com, and you can send any feedback to crushingonpod@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe wherever podcasts are available. We are there. Subscribe so you can get the new episodes as soon as it comes out. All episodes are edited and produced by Rebecca Barches. And goodbye. See you next week.